Hello and welcome to Colton Classics. Today we are working on a 55 four-door Belair. This car has been sitting for quite some time and we are going to be going through the entire brake system because currently there is no brakes. Pretty common on these old cars that sit quite often. The brake fluid gets moisture in the fluid and turns to clay, and the water in the system sits in the wheel cylinders and the master cylinder and rusts the bores, and you'll get corrosion and pitting. Wheel cylinders will fail, master cylinder will fail, brake hoses will get coagulated and clogged, wheel cylinders will get clogged or leak, and you'll find yourself with no brakes and no fluid. So join me as we go through replacing all the brakes on this 55 Belair. We're going to do an inspection and inspect our shoes and our hardware, and then we'll get started on replacing the wheel cylinders. Now the wheel cylinders, sometimes depending on how bad they are, you can get rebuild kits, and you can hone the cylinders and get rebuild kits and clean them up and save them. But in most cases with these old cars, they get pits in them and corrode in the bore, and they're just not worth the risk of safety. If you got a family in the car or you're out cruising with some friends, you don't want your brakes to fail. So if they're available, I just suggest getting new cylinders. We're going to want to do cylinders and soft hoses and all that, just to be safe. So we're going to take a quick look and inspect and see what we got to work with. So join us as we take a look. We're going to start back here in our right rear. Let me grab a light here. So what we have here is pretty standard drum brake system. These are our brake shoes. We got our wheel cylinder here, our springs. Down here at the bottom we have our adjusting star. You can see that. A lot of times on these old cars, that adjusting star will seize, and that adjusting star is what you use to adjust your drag on your drums. This one here is a non-self-adjusting brake. So on this model here, every year you should get in here and do a little adjustment on that star and bring your drag up. Gives you your best brake pedal. Late models had a self-adjusting, so as the brake system rocked, it had an arm that would spin that wheel, and it would keep the brakes adjusted to a point. It's always best to double check it. So anyway, we're just going to take a look. Looks like our lining on our shoes are pretty decent, so we should be able to clean them up. But you want to inspect them and look for cracks in the material. So we got some surface rust, and some glazing, but we can clean that up. If you had any big cracks in there, you're definitely going to want to replace those. One thing I'm noticing on this one right here is whoever did these brakes was not very familiar with drum brakes. In the back here we have what they call the primary shoe, and what that is where the material stops here and goes up the toe of the shoe. This distance right here is what they call the primary shoe. The secondary shoe is this one here, and where the material ends right here to the toe is a lot shorter than this one. Your secondary shoe is supposed to be in the rear of the vehicle. Your primary shoe is supposed to be in the front. So when you apply your brakes, the wheel cylinder pushes the shoes out, and the whole brake system will kind of rotate a little bit with our springs. So you want your secondary shoe, which has the most shoe coverage, you want it in the back, and you want the primary shoe in the front. So these are backwards on this particular right rear. So I'm guessing the left rear is probably the same. Let's take a quick look. Oh, one quick note. If you are inspecting, let's say you have a car that is a normal driver, or it can be driven, it has some brakes. You want to look at your cups right here, your dust cups on your wheel cylinder, and you want to inspect for leaking. If you have leaking down here, then that's an indication that your pistons, the piston seal has given up and it's leaking. The other thing you can do is you can pop the dust cap back and take a look inside. And you can see here, it's a little hard to tell. See if I can get the light pointed there better. We have a lot of clay. That's our brake fluid has turned to clay. That should not be like that. So that wheel cylinder is no good. All right, let's go to the other side. Which we anticipated. This car has been sitting for quite some time. Like I said, outside under it's a cover. It was under a cover, but it was still outside in the various temperature changes and weather. So moisture is not your friend on the cars that sit. Again, oh yeah, see that one's leaking. I don't know if you can see that or not. This wheel cylinder is leaking. Let me see if I get the light on here better. Again, I'm trying to hold my camera and show you guys. Sorry. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see we have fluid, it's wet, and clay. That one's garbage as well. Anyway, going back to our assumption here. All right, again, here's another indication. Material stops here all the way to the toe of the shoe. This primary shoe is supposed to be in the front. You can see here, this one here, again, material stops there, and there's the toe there. Secondary shoe is supposed to be in the back of the car. Again, when you push on the brakes and the wheel cylinder is pushing out the shoes to the sides, we want the most contact in the back. So this is going to push this shoe into the drum, and then the whole system is going to kick a little bit, and it's going to push the shoe into the drum. So we want the secondary shoe in the back. Let's take a look at the front. All right, front of the car, same idea. We got drum brakes. Looking at our shoe linings. Now we have spindles in the front with wheel bearings. So if you have this tore apart and you're doing everything in here, you're going to want to repack your wheel bearings with wheel bearing grease and do a new grease seal at the back of the drum. All right, we have. I'm not sure who did the brakes on this car, but on this side we have a primary shoe and a primary shoe. From the material to the toe, that's the same. So we have two primary shoes on this side. So that tells me that I bet you the right front has two secondary shoes. Yep. From the material to the toe is very minimal compared to the primary shoe, and same thing here. So this side has both secondary shoes. So I don't know who did the brakes on this last time, but they didn't know their brake drum system. So anyway, we're going to continue with our inspection. Again, same thing like the back. It looks like our shoes have no cracks. A little bit of glazing, a little bit of surface rust just from the drum contact. But I do not see any reason why we can't clean those up and reuse those. Springs look good, not broken. Again, we got the same system. We have our adjusting star here. We're gonna get that all lubricated and cleaned up and get that working again. The adjustment on those stars is when they have the drum on, there's going to be an access slot at the back of the backing plate You use a screwdriver or a brake adjusting lever to adjust that star from the backside of the backing plate. And we can go into the drag of adjustment when we get to that point. So right now we are going to look at our soft hoses. So soft hoses, you have two in the front, one on each side. They go from the hard line to the wheel, and they are soft hoses. They're flexible, so they will move with suspension and you're turning. So on old cars, big failure point, and a lot of times they'll crack, they'll split, they'll leak. But the best way I like to describe these is they're kind of like your artery, your blood artery of your body. It starts out with a hole, and it starts to get smaller and smaller and gets coagulated until fluid doesn't pass through it any longer. So it's just a good idea to replace them. They're not that expensive, and it's a really good idea, because even if you're passing fluid through it, that hole could be very, very small, and you're not getting the volume of fluid that the wheel cylinder demands for stopping properly. And then on the back, you have one soft hose, and that soft hose again goes from the hard line to the rear axle. Let's see if I can get it right here. It'll go to a T, and it goes up to the hard line of the car, so you're going to replace that one too, but it's only one in the back. Okay, so we'll be back, and we'll have to order some parts, and we'll be back, and we'll get started on this. So please join us. Subscribe. Click to subscribe. Thank you.